Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavad-gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Chapter 7, Text 13. Tribhir gunamayar bhavair abhi sarvam idam jagat mohitang nabhijanati mamebhyah paramavyayam. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. Read the purport. We'll just have the purport in Tamil. Modern science has discovered many forces within the universe. Electricity, magnetism, radioactivity. Physics has studied sound, how it travels in waves, and light, how it travels in waves. Here in Bhagavad-gita, Lord Krishna informs us about certain energies in the universe that modern science has not discovered. And actually these forces, they will not be discovered by science either. These are not exactly physical forces, but subtle psychic forces. They are called the three modes of material nature: Sattva guna, Rajo guna, Tamo guna. These forces influence every living being. In Sattva guna, people are inclined toward a moral life, spiritual life. In Sattva guna, people tend to be peaceful by nature, not highly acquisitive. That means they don't want to collect lots of things, get lots of money. In Rajoguna, that is characterized by lust and greed, kam and lobha. Modern civilization is much impelled by Rajoguna. The idea that we should get more and more, work hard. These are all symptoms of Rajoguna. And Tamoguna, tamas means darkness. So this means a darkness of consciousness, where even if one, in human life, if one is influenced by tamoguna, practically the consciousness is like that of an animal. In tamoguna, people, they cannot think about their real welfare, they cannot think about their welfare even materially, what to speak of spiritually. It is characterized by foolishness, excessive sleep, a tendency to intoxication, eating meat. This is also falls within tamoguna. Of course, these modes tend to be mixed. We won't usually find a person who's completely in Sattva guna. It's Sattva guna mixes with Rajoguna. The tendency to come and listen to a philosophical discourse, as you are all doing, is suggestive of Sattva guna. So you all have some measure of Sattva guna. It's getting less and less in the modern age. People are more inclined to watch cricket matches than listen to discussions about the purpose of life. Cricket matches that is characterized by Rajogun and Tamogun. Rajogun because there's a sense of competition and achievement, And Tamagun because it has no meaning whatsoever. It's just a useless waste of time. It serves no purpose either materially and definitely not spiritually. So Sattva guna is better for spiritual advancement. Even in Rajoguna and Tamaguna one can be religious. Rajoguna and Tamaguna one can be religious. Rajoguna you said also? I didn't hear that. But in Rajoguna one performs religious activities for the sake of material benefit. For instance, one may organize yagyas with the idea that from the punya my business will prosper. And by performing the yagya, everyone will see what a religious person I am, and they will praise me as a very religious person. So religious activities performed for prestige and material benefit are in Rajoguna. And in Tamoguna, one may worship ghosts, or one may worship supposed avatars who are actually more like ghosts. We see some supposed avatars who have some kind of what seems like siddhi, but it's actually ghostly powers. Or one may perform some kind of ritual for invoking some spirit to kill your enemy. This is religion in Tamoguna. Or religious rituals that involve animal slaughter or use of wine. This is all in Tamoguna. Tantrics, they're not so common here, but in Kerala they're more common. These tantrics, they will use dead bodies and all kinds of very low practices, and they get a lot of power by doing so. But ultimately they will have to suffer terribly for such sinful activities. So even religious activities can be sinful. They're religious but sinful. That sounds strange, doesn't it? Just like, for instance, there are religious rites for killing animals. So these religious rites, they produce some punya, but they also produce papa for killing the animal. There are various religious rites for killing animals. These are to regulate people who have the low-class tendency to kill and eat animals. So the idea is that they can only do that vidhi, as you just said the word, that ritual, no more than once a month. They can only perform, according to religious rites, within the Puranic system, they can only do that no more than once a month. But if you don't, so that will restrict the meat eaters. Otherwise, people will eat meat every day, which is not good for spiritual realization. But Sattva guna is very pure. People in Sattva guna, they're very clean. They don't eat meat or fish or eggs or even garlic or onions, which garlic and onions are all, even garlic and onions are within Tamoguna. They don't eat, they don't take intoxication. They are not very concerned with working hard to make lots of money. Because they have a philosophical outlook on life. They know that this life is only one life in a cycle of many, many lives, and therefore they utilize this life for spiritual realization. However, in the verse that we read tonight, Krishna says that all these three modes, Krishna says people cannot understand me because they're covered by the three modes of material nature, including Sattva guna. So even Sattva guna it has some level of contamination if it does not bring us to the point of understanding Krishna. The real point of spiritual realization, the actual point, is Krishna. This is very clear from Bhagavad-gita, wherein Krishna says, Vedaishcha sarvairaham eva vedyo. Vedanta krit veda vedeva chaham. Krishna says, I am the object of knowledge in all the Vedas. I am the composer of the Vedanta. I am the knower of the Vedas. Arjuna praises Krishna in Bhagavad-gita. Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adi Devam Ajam Vibhum. O Krishna, you are the supreme spiritual reality. You are the supreme repose, Paramdhama. You are the supreme pure. You are the eternal transcendental person, the original worshipable person, unborn and all-powerful. So even if we are very sattvic, if we lead a very clean life, and we're not addicted to gross materialism, even that is not enough if we do not come to the point of understanding Krishna. And in fact, that Sattva guna, that can also be a kind of contamination. Krishna Bhakti, which is the perfection of life, means to satisfy Krishna. Krishna Bhakti means to do whatever is required to please Krishna. But if we're attached to being very peaceful, we may think, no, I don't like to do all this. I'll just sit peacefully. Arjunan, he thought that this fighting is not very good. Arjunan thought, let me renounce the fighting. Arjunan thought, I will be a great sadhu. I will be very peaceful, non-violent. Arjunan, he proposed to become sattvic. Now definitely Sattva guna is higher than Raja guna and Tama guna. And fighting is conducted under Raja guna and Tama guna. So Arjuna's proposal to be sattvic might have seemed very spiritual. But Krishna told Arjuna, Mama nusmara yudhyacha. Think of me, remember me, Krishna said to Arjuna, and fight. Krishna Bhakti does not mean to withdraw from the world, but to act within the world for Krishna. And that is a higher platform than simply meditating. The symbol of a person in Sattva guna, or the representative, is one who is silently meditating. But better than silently meditating is to act for Krishna. The greatest devotees in history are those who acted for Krishna. There are many devotees who have simply sat silently and chanted Ram Nam, Krishna Nam. That is very good. But the most famous devotee of Rama is here. Sri Hanuman, Anjanaya Swami. So he's Chiranjeevi, he's still alive, and he's sitting and chanting Ramanama. But he didn't become famous for chanting Ramanama. But he became famous by acting for Lord Rama, by jumping to Lanka, by burning Lanka, by jumping back and bringing news of Sita, and so many activities that Hanuman performed in the service of Rama. The most exalted devotees of Krishna are the gopis of Vrindavan. They were not meditating yogis. Cowherd women, they're busy with looking after their homes and cows. And the most famous activity of the gopis with Krishna is dancing. So dancing is not Sattva guna. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was a sannyasi, and he was always chanting the names of Krishna and dancing. And some other sannyasis used to criticize him. They said he's a very strange sannyasi. The sannyasi should simply perform austerities and meditation and study Shastra. The sannyasi should be fully in Sattva guna. But this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is dancing and singing and crying doesn't seem to be a very good sannyasi. He's not in Sattva guna. But Krishna says that I cannot be understood by, definitely not by Tamaguna, definitely not by Rajaguna, but even not by Sattva guna. Krishna says, Bhaktya mama bijanati. I can be known through bhakti. This means that activities of bhakti, even though they may resemble Rajaguna, because there's a lot of activity, is not Rajaguna. Activities performed for the pleasure of Krishna, that is bhakti. And that is above Sattva guna. It may seem that meditation and yoga practice, that's Sattva guna, so it must be higher than singing and dancing and banging drums and chanting Hare Krishna loudly. It may seem more spiritual to sit in meditation than to bang a drum and sing very loudly. But thinking like this is a misunderstanding by which we cannot understand Krishna. That's why Krishna says here that even Sattva guna is a contamination. Because if we think that simply being peaceful and cultivating a sense of spirituality, that in itself is spiritual, that is a misunderstanding. Real spiritual life means to act in our spiritual position. There is a common misunderstanding that spiritual attainment means merging into the Param Jyoti. Simply to get mukti and then you no longer have any form or name, you just be merged into some oneness. But real mukti is muktir hitvanyata rupam swarupena vyavastitihi. To give up this material condition and attain one's real spiritual form. And along with spiritual form, there are spiritual activities also. But spiritual activities, they are not in Rajagun. They are above the modes of material nature. Hanuman burning Lanka, this activity is fully spiritual. This is more spiritual than sitting in meditation for thousands of years. It is fully spiritual because it is enacted solely out of a desire to serve selflessly Ramchandra Bhagavan. So Sattva guna, if cultivated without a sense of service to Krishna, that tends toward an impersonal kind of realization, which is widely misunderstood to be the apex of spiritual realization, the topmost spiritual realization. But it is not, because actual spiritual realization means to understand Krishna and surrender to Krishna in bhakti. So, therefore, this attachment to Sattva guna and this feeling that I'm spiritual without actually surrendering to Krishna, that is a contamination which separates us from Krishna. It covers actual knowledge of Krishna. Actual spiritual realization means realization that we are all spiritual servants of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God. And any other concept of spiritual realization is a misconception. So even Sattva guna, the idea of being very peaceful and detached, even that is a contamination if we don't have the idea to serve Krishna. On the other hand, if we're very busy in Krishna's service, trying to serve Krishna to the best of our ability, without any personal motivation, that is not Rajoguna. That is beyond the modes of material nature. That is fully spiritual. So, that's the point I wanted to make, and I've made it now. Please study Bhagavad-gita as it is very carefully to get a clear understanding of spiritual life. Spiritual life means to surrender to Krishna. There are many misconceptions about spiritual life. But to understand Bhagavad-gita as it really is means to surrender to Krishna. And that is the message of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It's the same message that we say again and again and again, in maybe a little differently each time, but the message is the same. Because if people can just understand this, then their life is perfect. So our request is, please do not be bewildered regarding the purpose of life. The purpose of life is not simply to earn money. That is Sattva guna. The purpose of life is not even to be very spiritual, unless that spirituality is not clearly focused on Krishna. So there are many misconceptions about spiritual life. But real spiritual life means Krishna Bhakti. And that Krishna Bhakti means without any motivation other than to please Krishna. And that can be done in this age by the simple method of Harinam Sankirtan. Harer Nama eva kevalam kalo nascheva gatiranyata. The Shastra, Brihanaradiya Purana, emphatically says that in this Kali Yuga, there is no other way to attain the spiritual goal than chanting the names of Hari, chanting the names of Hari, chanting the names of Hari. So please do it. Your life will be successful in all respects. Thank you very much, Ramanandri. Hare Krishna. Yeah, any question, please? Well,
why God has given to the human the hunger, thirst, all these things. Because of that, people have to act sinful.
That's not true. Hunger and thirst do not have to be satisfied in a sinful way. Actually, all suffering in the material condition is caused by forgetfulness of Krishna. In material life, there is only suffering. But hunger and thirst, which are symptomatic of the material condition, they do not have to be fulfilled in a sinful way. If we satisfy our hunger by honoring Krishna Prasadam, that is not sinful. That purifies our consciousness. There's another question.
Gita he read, only performing bhakti is enough, but I can't understand how is that only performing bhakti is enough.
Because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the origin of everything and the center of everything. And the constitutional position of every jiva is to serve him. So to do that is perfection. And if we don't do that, then whatever else we do, we are imperfect. So to perform unmotivated bhakti to Krishna, that in itself is perfection. It's the natural, proper, constitutional thing for us to do. Yeah, anything else, please? Yeah, there's another question over here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
First, Swami, the main problem now in society is terrorism. What is the solution from this one side for the terrorism? And there is also many false Swamijis, they are cheating people. What is the solution for that?
Well, Namakkal is a great center of terrorism. Namakkal is a great center of terrorism. How many chickens are terrorized and slaughtered here? You may think, well, it's just chickens. They're also living beings. They also suffer. So if we perform acts of terrorism to animals, then by the laws of karma, then we will also have to suffer in the same way. If we treat helpless living beings in such a cruel and vile way, then we'll think it's also okay to kill humans like that. The only solution to all these problems is to bring people to a higher level of consciousness. So our program is an educational program to educate people in the actual laws of the universe. We cannot commit sinful activities and expect to live very peacefully. So the first question was about terrorism, and the second one was about what? False sannyasis. Well, again, education is required. Most people want to be cheated. They want to be cheated. If someone comes along and says that, well, you just chant a mantra and everything will be okay, then we want a very cheap solution. Yeah, we want something very cheap. But if we tell people the fact that for real spiritual life, we have to stop meat eating, intoxication, watching TV, all these different things, people think, well, I don't want that. These cheating swamis could not be influential if people didn't want to be cheated. They're fulfilling a need. So again, the solution is to educate people as to the real goal of life. Therefore we hold programs like this. We have regular programs for teaching the understanding of Bhagavad-gita as it is. We publish so many books of real spiritual knowledge. These books are not full of mumbo-jumbo rubbish, but clear delineation of the principles of spiritual knowledge. So the bogus swamis, they'll put in their books, feel good, be nice, smile at others, but nothing substantial. No clear knowledge of who we are, who is God, and what is our relationship with Him. Anything else? Like us.
It's asking that Gaurav sannyasis here living with family members, with ladies, and you can perform these spiritual activities easily. But how we can perform, you people without ladies, without family, you can perform. But how we can perform the Bhakti activities?
Well, you can perform spiritual activities in family life. This chanting Hare Krishna is a very powerful sadhana. That even in family life, one can become very much purified by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. In fact, many of the people present here are family, they're grihastas, married people, who are committed to chanting Hare Krishna. How many here are married and chanting at least 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna mantra daily? So, there you are. You can do also. There's a book, The Beginner's Guide to Krishna Consciousness, Bhakti Yoga, which gives basic instructions on how to practice Bhakti Yoga at home. Alright, so we'll chant Hare Krishna for a few more... What's that? Yeah, so we'll chant Hare Krishna for a few more minutes. We invite you to join in this blissful Sankirtan, which is spiritually very powerful and purifying. And prasadam will Krishna